Okay, I've got a Raspberry Pi set up here. This is the Raspberry Pi, and it's connected to my PC via this lead here, which is an Ethernet connector, just an ordinary network cable, and I've got a live camera on it, and it's connected to this breadboard here, to which I've got some LEDs. Now it's connected through this connector P1 on the Raspberry Pi circuit diagram. This is the schematic, and you'll see this is the connector P1, and if you look on the diagram here, you'll see pin 1 is connected to 3 volts, pin 2 is connected to 5 volts, pin 3 here, that's just got a resistor to 3 volts, so we can use that as an output pin, which is what I want to do. So going along here, I've actually wired this LED, looking at the Raspberry Pi again, this LED is actually wired to pin 3. So we can control that pin by in BUBBL just writing pin control 3 is 1. That will set the pin to an output. So let me do that. And now if I actually write a 1 to pin 3 itself, that should switch on our LED. You can see this LED has come on. If I write a 0 to it now, that'll switch it off. Okay, very simple. So what I've got here now is all the useful pins that I'm going to connect to. I'll put into a little table map here, so that the numbering is easier to deal with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the first 7 of those to outputs here. That's what this little thing does, and I'm going to set the pins 13 and 15, which are numbers 8 and 9 in my table. I'm going to set those to inputs. Output I write a 1 to the control, and input I write a 0 to the control. So I'll just do that. Okay, and now I've got some demonstration, little demonstration programs. First, let's look at this thing called Pulse. Now what Pulse does, it takes pin as an input parameter, it writes that pin to 1, which switches on the LED, waits for 3 ticks, those ticks happen 40 times a second. It waits for those ticks and then it switches the pin off again. So if I run that, what you should see is the pin light up for a while. Again, this is pin 3 here. You should see it light up for a while and then go dim again. I'll just do that again if you didn't see it. We just get a little flash on that pin. Okay, now this routine I've written here called stripe, what that does is it calls pulse for pins number 1 to 7 in my map here. So if I run that, you'll see it should stripe all the way along. There we go. And here a little bit more, I've got a stripe instruction connected back to itself. So what we should get is striping followed by striping and so on. Okay, a simple little example of doing something with the output pins. Okay, I've got another example now which is called tilt, but first of all let's look at this routine change, which is in the middle of it. Now what change does is it takes the last pin switch that it was called with, switches it off, and then it copies this variable last to the variable we send it pin, and then it sets pin to 1, so it switches the LED on, and that's it. So it switches the last one off and switches the one we send on. So it's a way of changing whichever pin is active. So that's what change does. And this little routine called tilt uses the 2 inputs. Now 8 and 9 are connected here to these 2 tilt switches. Okay, and what those tilt switches do is they will read as 1 or true if the switch is activated. So we're waiting here, we get a tick. If number 9 is activated, we'll go up here, and if not, it'll test number 8, and if number 8 is activated, we'll go up here. Okay, so this one will add 1 to this variable pos, just a little variable there, and this will take away 1 from pos. Okay, but before we take away 1, we check that we are actually greater than 1. If not, it doesn't do anything. And again, we don't add 1 unless it's less than 7. So that these two instructions clip the value of pos between 1 and 7. And then we change the previous pin, we just call it with the current pin we want to light up. So I don't know if you can imagine what this will do, but I'll run it. And coming here, you'll see one of the pins is lit up. If I tilt this now, you can see that that's activating the tilt switches, and the light obviously is a lot heavier than you would think it should be, because it's falling as I tilt it up.